So today, Oliver, we had the news that Angela Arendt's chief executive of Burberry is going to join Apple, which seems like a rather strange move, but shares actually fell on this news. Why is there so much concern about this move?
Well, partly I think investors are disappointed that Angela Arendt is leaving. She was quite popular. She's done a very good job with the company. The shares have increased many times over since she took over. So she's done a good job and really helped to turn around a company that used to be defined by almost quite a down market image, and she's really pulled it back up and made it a serious player in the fashion world. So that her departure is disappointing, although she's been there quite a while, so it might have been partly expected. I think there's also some concern over her successor, who is Christopher Bailey, who's been he's been with the company over 10 years, most recently as Chief Creative Officer. So he knows the company well, but he's very much creative type. He's not a bean counter, he's not a spreadsheet person. He's the creative sort of mind behind the revival of Burberry. And I think the question people are asking is, does he have what it takes to actually lead the company as a whole?
Okay, and it seems that he's taking over the company at a little bit of a juncture. I mean, as you say, they got rid of their sort of down market stuff, and now they're really trying to kind of recreate the brand. How is he going to perform in that?
Well, it's done pretty well so far, and Burberry's grown very rapidly, like other luxury companies, by targeting China in particular and Asia more generally. But the challenge now is whether he can keep that going if growth in China is moderating slightly. Certainly we've had forecasts for luxury growth this year have been reduced quite markedly, and also for next year. So the question is whether he can continue to grow in perhaps a more difficult environment. Burberry itself is also in a particular sort of state of flux for a couple of reasons. Partly it's just brought in its beauty business and its fragrances business. It used to be run under a license agreement, but it's brought that in-house, so it's just trying to sort of reinvent that on its own, so that provides a new challenge. And also there's been a lot of change at board level. The chief finance officer has only been there for 3 months. They've had a chief operating officer who's only been there for 7 months. Now they'll have a new chief executive as well. So a lot of flux sort of operationally and at board level at Burberry.
Okay, and as you mentioned, I mean, Christopher Bailey is from a creative background. I mean, how do we know that that's going to work? Obviously it's worked at Apple with Steve Jobs, but how do we know that he can repeat that?
We don't know, and that's one of the reasons why the shares are down. As you say, in some industries it helps to have a creative person in charge. Steve Jobs did a fantastic job at turning around Apple, but you need to make sure that if the creative person's in charge, he has enough support on the business side of things to keep things ticking along, and that's the big question that Christopher Bailey will have to answer.
Okay, so overall, Angela Arendt's leaving it a bit of a turning point for Burberry, and we'll just have to wait and see how Christopher Bailey gets on with dealing with that. Thanks, Oliver.